I'd like to move on to just hitting on some more specific things about coaching and specifically coaching with SFC. So, science, psychology, and story. Let's head into the science. Over the past 8 years, I've seen you sometimes write that your investment in coaching has paid you back over and over again. So, what you've got from it is way, way more in actual, on paper, spreadsheet value than what you've invested. Can you just say more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really do mean that in the most cut and dry sense of the
What, like
word.
you could show us a spreadsheet with
I,
those actual
I
figures on
yeah,
year on year?
exactly. I could
Okay.
show the total of money that I have paid to Sarah Video Coaching and the total of the money that I have received because of things that we coached around.
Okay.
And the money that I've received would be a bigger amount for sure. That's just very straightforward by a lot. Um, and I think that the most direct explanation of that would be that we coached around me negotiating my compensation. Let's also remember that when I started working with you, I was a freelance legal translator, and now I'm on the board of a company. So, yes, I mean it in a very straightforward, direct way. So I'm not in any way saying if you sign up for coaching, you'll immediately get your money back.
No.
Exactly, right? It
No.
wasn't immediate. There was a lot of work and effort and coaching that went into it, but also in very cut and dry, direct terms, I have benefited financially more than I have paid out financially.
Amazing. So you not so did coaching help you to say yes to the board role?
Yes, definitely.
Why were you hesitating to ask for a raise?
There was a
I
lot.
mean, this is a while ago. This is some years ago. This is
Yeah, this is a
pre-COVID.
very, very long time
Yeah,
ago, and I'm trying to even remember. There were so many twists and turns in there.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'm also trying to think of what I can comfortably and openly
Yes. Yeah.
talk about. Um, mm,
Well, let me try and frame it in a very, very broad way. Was you had made one offer to them, and then you said to me, "But I've already said about the offer." This is a bit like you're the boss of the offers, right? I've already made the offer, and I said, "Why don't you go back?" Something like this. Obviously, in coaching, I wouldn't couch it like this. It would be something different.
yeah,
But
yeah,
why don't you go back and tell them you made a mistake and you decided something different? And you were like, "Oh yeah."
yeah.
Something
Actually,
along those lines, right? I don't know if it was as cut and dry as that, but and it takes a lot. To be fair, it takes a lot of discussion and trust between the coach and myself to get to coachee and myself to get to that point. But it was along those lines, I think.
now that you've reminded me of that, then I remember more clearly that that was at least one chapter that happened. And yes, that was a surprisingly simple and not simple kind of well, an edge that got crossed, I think, of like, but before I said this, and now I want to say something else, and how do I navigate that? And I think that I wasn't even kind of aware that that was an available option in the beginning, but also how to do that. Because I think there are skilled ways of doing that and unskilled ways of doing that. So we definitely coached around that as well. Um, Another chapter that I remember when I was going to make some kind of ask involved a lot of very practical steps around, like, okay, first gather your data, you know, get really clear in yourself, have that data available, organized, even if you don't share it, and that proved to be incredibly instrumental.
Mm.
I think if I remember correctly, perhaps I didn't share the data in the beginning, and I thought that it had just been for my own benefit. And then in the next stage of negotiations, I was called on to basically back up what I had said. And instead of that sending me into a panic, it was like,
Yeah.
oh, yes, here you go, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that just knowing that I had that for myself actually made a huge difference in the first negotiation, discussion, ask,
Ready
conversation.
to be ready to be ready,
Yep.
as one of our fellow coaches says.
Yes.
So that reminds me of in the writing workshops and writing coaching that I do as well, where a lot of the stuff you write will never be seen, but it's
Mm-hmm.
incredibly important to the output that does get seen in the end.
Yes.
That's so interesting to say that to and I also want to mention here that coaches, and especially me, like data collection is not my strong suit. And this is where being a coach does not mean do as I say, not as I do. It does not mean that I lead by example, actually. The example that I probably lead by is one of what you said, like that integrity piece and non-performance. But also being a performer. But is um what we have to do, we have to have a very broad knowledge of what's happening in the world, in the corporate world, in the everyday world, in the world of people who are not enabled in their lives, in the world of people who are parents, in the world of gender disparity, in the world of everything, right? And all of that, we have to have a very keen awareness, if not a deep knowledge of these things. So when I hear you saying that to me, oh, you made me well, no, you suggested that I gather data and then I do this and then I do this and then I do this. I think, oh, interesting. That's not my strong suit. And yet I can offer it. And I think that's a really key thing about coaching. A good
Mm-hmm.
coach knows that they're not there to lead by example, that they're not there to do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
you tell me more about what that means to you, especially around SFC? Because I have a very strong kind of um, personality types.
Yeah, so I don't think that I look to you for that. You know, that sense of like, oh, Sarah Fredia is doing this thing, and therefore I should also do this thing. I mean, you
Thank
and I,
God.
well, our lives are very different. We're very different people, but you have a depth of knowledge and a breadth of skill set that is very deliberately honed and cultivated over a long period of time. That means that, of course, you have insight into things that can help me. And so when what's the phrasing that you use about an offer, invitation?
Proposal. Oh, everything is an offer, an invitation, or a proposal.
Right. Okay. So that's the spirit in which I take it. I don't take it as an assignment, right? It's an offer, a proposal, an invitation, and then we consider it quite often together in that coaching environment, and then action is taken. Do you know what I mean? I'm not
Yeah.
looking at you to model something for me so that I can copy that. No, like we're collaborating and, like figuring things out together. You know, I'm bringing a lot of information about my situation. You're bringing your skills and your um like attention, to the thing, and together we coach around something to come up with something that then I go and implement because it's my life, right?